Hello, in this lecture we will see the maximum mode signals of 8086 microprocessor which are available from the dual functionality pins. Okay, some lectures back I have taken that there are pin number 24 to pin number 31. These are the pins which will support dual functionality. That means that the same pins will function in one manner in the minimum mode, the other manner in the maximum mode. And these dual functionality signals here from the minimum mode are already covered up in the previous lecture. Now we will see same pins having different functionality in the maximum mode. We will cover in this particular lecture. First of all, the request and grant signals. Now what I mean by request grant, see here. There are basically two request grant signals, request bar / grant bar 0, and the second signal is request bar / grant bar 1. And these two signals are bidirectional request and grant signals. And these two are totally independent and they perform DMA like operation in the maximum mode. It has been stated here. Now question is that in the minimum mode we are having hold and hold acknowledge. These are the two pins which are available for DMA operation. Whereas in case of maximum mode we are having individual request grant signals, that is a single line request bar / grant bar to carry out the DMA like operation in the maximum mode. It means that just a single request grant line is enough to carry out DMA operation in the maximum mode, where the DMA like operation can be initiated by DMA controller or it can be initiated by the auxiliary processor like 8087 or 8089. Now what is that basic difference here while making that particular design? The DMA controller is connected to the CPU in maximum mode by using a single line request bar grant bar which is bidirectional in the maximum mode. Rest of the connection, rest of the design remains same. It means that system bus making connection between CPU, that DMA controller or auxiliary device, then memory and IO, and then the connection of control signals related to memory and IO. It means that operation is almost similar. The only thing is that the DMA controller or that auxiliary processor has to give to the processor the active low request signal initially, that is request bar. Subsequently, processor has to give, after completion of this current bus cycle, the active low grant signal on that same pin. It is a bidirectional pin so that it is possible. Request bar signal is given from the DMA controller to the processor. Then subsequently processor gives that grant bar signal in the reverse order on that same line towards the DMA controller or that corresponding auxiliary processor. And once that active low grant signal is received by the DMA controller, then thereafter processor loses control over the system bus. DMA controller takes the charge of the system bus and using that system bus data transfer, a block of data transfer will be carried out between memory and IO device in the direction which is specified by the user. It means that rest of the operation remains identical to that of the minimum mode operation which was done through hold and hold acknowledge. So here stated that operation is controlled by DMA controller or bus master device, which is the auxiliary processor, either 8087 NDP or 8089 IOP. Now this last point is extremely important. In case of simultaneous request, which of that request grant will be assigned the more priority? Now here in 8086 processor, that request grant 0, request bar slash grant bar 0 is assigned more priority than request bar slash grant bar 1. It means that a device which is connected to request grant 0 and another device connected to request grant 1, if both are sending active low request signal towards microprocessor in maximum mode, then a device which is connected to request grant 0 will first of all get the chance to complete that data transfer operations, DMA operation or DMA like operation. And by that time, that second device which is connected to request grant 1 that request will be kept in a pending list. So once that first DMA like operation is over, that second device will get a chance to carry out that DMA like operation and to perform its own data transfer. So this is the functionality of that request grant signals in the maximum mode. Okay, these steps which are common with maximum mode along with that minimum mode are not elaborated, not repeated once again here. Okay, you need to kindly refer that minimum mode DMA data transfer in my earlier lectures. Now we will see that next signal here, which is lock bar signal. Now this lock bar signal is basically a type of status. It is a type of indication. It is a burst lock indication signal. Now what happens whenever lock bar is equal to 0? As we know that this signal is active low signal. Whenever lock bar is equal to 0, it indicates that 8086 processor is executing a lock prefixed instruction. Now what I mean by lock prefixed instruction here? Some of the instructions, before we write those instructions, edit those instructions, we apply or we connect some prefixes in order to support that instruction to carry out some additional functionality. That's why it is called as a prefix. Now whenever lock bar is equal to 0, it indicates that it is executing a lock prefix instruction so that whatever resources available on the system bus are locked by the microprocessor. Resources locked by processor. It clearly means that processor accesses those resources in exclusive manner, in uninterrupted manner. All the resources will be used by the processor in uninterrupted manner. It clearly means that the other external bus master device will be prevented to use those resources during that execution of that lock prefix instruction here. So the bus master devices will not be allowed to use those resources, and obviously that corresponding system bus, as the resources are available on the system bus. So during the complete execution of that lock prefix instruction here, the external bus master device will not be allowed to use those resources, and processor uses all those resources in a locked manner and executes that lock prefix instruction without any interruption. Now the second possibility, what happens whenever lock bar is equal to 1? What it indicates? When lock bar is equal to 1, it indicates that 8086 processor in maximum mode has completed the execution of lock prefix instruction. Completed execution. It clearly means that all the resources which will now become free, resources are free to use by other bus master devices, so that the other bus master devices available on the system bus can claim those resources, use those resources and carry out their corresponding operation in the maximum mode here. Now, the next two signals which I want to explain is about QS0 and QS1 Q status lines. These are the two Q status lines which are available in the maximum mode, and they define the status of internal Q of the microprocessor. Whatever stated inside square bracket is extremely important. It indicates the movement of instruction bytes from the queue for the execution purpose. So Q status indicate the movement of instruction byte, like given in this particular chart here, QS1, QS0. Of course, while writing this particular chart, that QS0 has been shown on the right side and QS1 on the left side, because QS1 is MSB bit. So whenever QS1, QS0 are 00, it means that no operation with reference to that internal queue here. Probably processor has completed its execution and there is no movement of instruction bytes out of that queue from the bottom end. Okay, that's why no operation has been defined here. Next is 01. It indicates that first byte of that instruction is taken from that queue for execution purpose. Okay, as soon as that first byte is taken from the bottom end of that queue, inside ALU section within execution unit, subsequently queue status signals will be 01 here. But as we know that in case of 8086 processor, that instruction can be ranging from 1 byte up to maximum 7 byte. 7 byte is the maximum complex instruction available in 8086. It means that some more bytes might be left within that queue for execution from that particular instruction. Okay, so that the next entry, the last entry, first of all, 11, what it indicates? It indicates that subsequent byte of that instruction taken from the queue for execution purpose. Okay, it means that 01 indicates first byte is taken from that queue for execution, while 11 indicates that subsequent byte is taken from that queue from the bottom end for execution purpose. Subsequent byte, it can be second byte, third byte, fourth byte. If my instruction is of 7 byte, then up to the completion of that 7th byte, that Q status lines QS1 and QS0 will be 11. So this is regarding the movement of instruction byte and its reflection in the setting of that Q status lines. Now we go back to that third entry, 10, QS1 1 and QS0 0. It means that queue has been flushed or queue has been emptied. The internal instruction queue will be emptied or flushed only when there is a execution of branching instruction, like say jump instruction, subroutine call instruction, or whenever we have gone or processor has gone for the execution of interrupt service routine in response to the interrupt mechanism. So once that operation is started, then that queue will be emptied or queue will be flushed, and that status will be reflected into 10 here. Okay, it means that every status of that internal queue will be reflected by using QS0 and QS1 queue status lines here. And that will be helpful in the connection of the auxiliary processor like NDP 8087 or IOP 8089. In their connection, in their operation, this queue status is important. Now in this lecture, the last part is S0 bar and S2 bar. The status output signals in the maximum mode. And these are S0 bar to S2 bar are active low status output signals here. And these active low status output signal, they define the type of burst cycle in the progress in the maximum mode. It means that the status output signal, they are performing the operation like say MIO bar, read bar and write bar signals which were available in the minimum mode. A similar functionality is encoded here in S0 bar, S1 bar, S2 bar in the maximum mode. They define the type of burst cycle in progress. And these three status output signals, they are used by external burst controller Intel 8288 to generate device specific control signals here. Even in case of minimum mode, if you try to recall that MIO bar, read bar and write bar signals, those are externally decoded by using 3 to 8 decoder like 74138 for generation of 4 device specific control signals, and those signals were IO read bar, IO write bar, memory read bar and memory write bar. So that was in minimum mode. In case of maximum mode operation, that burst controller will accept S0 bar, S1 bar, S2 bar active low status output signal, and this burst controller, by using a clock reference as well, same clock, it will generate that device specific control signals here. Now here is a chart. In this particular chart, you can observe that S2 bar, again shown on the left side, MSB bit, S1 bar, S0 bar. These three active low status output signal, when all are 0, it indicates that burst cycle is interrupt acknowledged burst cycle, and the control signal generated by Intel 8288 burst controller is INTA bar. Then the next combination 001, which is shown in the red color. Burst cycle is IO read burst cycle, and the device specific control signal generated here is IORC bar, IO read command. In maximum mode, Intel 8288 burst controller will be generating device specific control signals which are written as a command signals. IO read command, IORC bar. Then the next entry 010, burst cycle is IO write burst cycle, and the device specific control signals are two: IO write command, IOWC bar slash advanced IO write command. Okay, there are two write signals here, command signals here related to IO device. IO write command, a normal one, and second is advanced IO write command, which is shown there. I will explain towards the end what I mean by advanced signals. Then 011 will be halt burst cycle, no device specific control signal to be generated during halt operation. Then 100 is instruction fetch burst cycle. In that case also, as instruction is to be fetched from memory, the device specific control signal will be memory read command, MRDC bar. Then next will be 101. It indicates a memory read burst cycle. Device specific control signal will be memory read command, MRDC bar only. Now question here, what is the difference between instruction fetch and memory read? In case of instruction fetch, even though the device specific control signal remains same along with that memory read, that is MRDC bar, but in case of instruction fetch, that instruction is fetched from code segment memory, whereas in case of memory read burst cycle, that data read, it is a read operation only. It is a data read either from a data segment or sometimes from stack segment or even sometimes from extra segment. So memory read is applicable for memory read of data from other segments, while instruction fetch is reading instruction from the code segment. That is the only difference here. Then the next entry here, 110. It indicates that bus cycle is memory write bus cycle and control signals are memory write command MWTC bar slash advanced memory write command AMWC bar. Again, advanced write signal is there along with normal write. I will explain. And whenever status signals are 111, it indicates that it is the inactive state. No bus cycle in progress. Obviously, no control signals are required here. As it is very apparent that the status signals are active low signals here, all are active low. It means that whenever status signals are 111, it clearly means that it is the inactive state. Inactive state in the maximum mode. So there is no bus cycle in progress and no device specific control signals. Okay, now here, applicable to memory write and applicable to IO write. There are two device specific control signals are shown here. MWTC bar slash AMWC bar, IOWC bar slash AIOWC bar. Now let me explain here that normal write signal, whether it is memory or IO, does not matter. The normal write signal in a bus cycle will be active during T3 and T4 T states. Okay, one bus cycle is of 4 T states, T1, T2, T3, T4. Out of that, normal write signals will be active during T3 and T4, while advanced write signals are activated one clock cycle earlier. It means that advanced write signals will be active from T2, T3 and T4, and then towards the end of T4 those will be deactivated. It means that advanced write signals are advanced one clock cycle earlier so that a slower speed device, either memory or IO, will get an additional clock cycle to carry out its write operation. If the device is fast enough, in that case write operation can be performed within that stipulated time of T3, T4. Normal write signals can be used there. But if the device happens to be a slower device, in that case it may take some more time to carry out that write operation. In that case this additional time would be useful. In that case such a slower device should be connected to advanced write signals. So the device will get additional time T2, T3 and T4 to complete that write operation. Okay, and within that additional time here, within that extended or advanced write operation here, the device will complete its operation. Now there can be one extreme possibility if the device is very slow and couldn't complete that particular say write operation even by using advanced write signals. Then in that case processor has to insert wait state between T3 and T4. It means that wait state can be certainly inserted even with the use of that advanced write signal if the device is not capable to complete its write operation. But it is very certain that by using advanced write signals here, the possibility of insertion of wait state in the current bus cycle has got minimized. Because additional time is supported to carry out that write operation, that's why possibility of insertion of wait state is reduced here, and that is the function of advanced write signals. We will see those details whenever we go for the actual timing cycles in the maximum mode. So this is all about the maximum mode signals under the dual functionality pins.